Hello everyone. So today we are going to sew our tree to our base. The tree that we made in the previous videos. I have this one already just done. This is just a little mini tree. Okay, and now I'm going to finish up the larger tree that I made with you guys so that I have another little set. Okay. So the first thing we're going to need is our needles. Oh, sorry, I have a little container thing here that I keep all my needles in. Probably should have took that out earlier. We have our doll needle with this little bend in it, and it's a yarn needle, so it's got a really big eye. And we have this one with a medium-sized eye, but extremely sharp. So this is really good for doing this one because you're going to just be going right underneath these stitches, and you don't want to split the yarn or anything like that. So this one's good for that. And then the sharp one is for just weaving in those ends at the end so they can get really stuck in the fibers and nothing's going to come out. Okay, and so already, and with this tree, with this end here that's inside the tree, I just shove it in the middle, into the top. Okay, and with this one too, I just put the yarn in the bottom and then I cover it with the plastic. Okay, oops, I think that one looks like that. Yeah, there we go. Sometimes if it's not a perfect circle, it sits a little bit better if you put it in exactly the spot where because this little section when you're cutting is a little different than the other circle. So, all right, so we got you need fiber fill. You need fluff, lots of fluff. So I got a bag of fiber fill here, and on Christmas Eve hot chocolate. So if you want to get yourself a drink, get all your supplies. That's great. We'll get started. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to grab some of your fiber fill. I already had a little bit left here from another bag. And we're going to start stuffing this tree. Now, you don't want to overstuff it, okay? But what I do is I'll go like this around the sides, okay? It also helps to calm the fluff down a little bit, and it pushes it up those sides, okay? This is a bigger tree. I'm going to need a little bit more fluff. I don't know if that might be a little too much, but we'll see. So, like I said, I just push around the sides like this and push that fluff in, okay? And then give a little push in the middle too, because you want to make sure that you're getting the fluff right up to the top. See, my top's a little smooshy. You'll be able to feel it. So maybe get my hand in there and push some of that fluff that's in the top, push that in, and then do the sides again. So yeah, there we go. So now you can feel that it's not hollow up at the top now. Okay, and we're going to grab a little bit more fluff. Sorry for the rustling of the bag. Okay. And see, and I do this around the sides like this just to kind of, like I said, it kind of calms the fluff down so you don't have little tiny fibers everywhere. Okay, and so you don't want little fibers getting in the way all over the place. Okay, you don't want to overstuff it right now either because you don't want all the fluff getting too much in the way. When we are sewing, once we get to about maybe about halfway or 3/4 of the way done the sewing, then we'll stuff some more in there and make sure that everything is good and full the way it should be. But like I said, you don't want to overstuff. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do, now that we've got that stuffed pretty good right now, we're going to grab our green yarn tail from the tree body, and we're going to grab our doll needle. Okay, get your yarn in that needle. And so what we're going to do is we're going to find the back of the base, which is well, you'll be able to see it from this, okay? So, and you also want to find, let me zoom in a little bit here for you, okay? You're going to find all those back loops that we didn't work in, okay? So there's one right there, and there's one right here, and there's also one right here. And it should line right up. Like if you can see that this one ends right here, this one ends right here, and this one ends right here. So you know that that is the back loop, the first back loop on that side, and that's the ending one. Okay. So for the base, you're going to always go through from the outside to the inside. Okay. So from the outside to the inside, you're going to put your needle in that back loop only that was unworked. Okay. I might have left a little bit too much yarn here. I always leave a lot of yarn for my yarn tails. Okay. And then you're going to make sure you're coming in on the tree base. Sorry, on the tree base, you go from the outside to the inside, and on the tree body, okay, if you look here, you'll see this is the slip stitch that we made, okay, and this is the stitch that we slip stitched into. Okay, so we're going to go from the inside to the outside of that stitch that we slip stitched into. Okay, and we will still work into that slip stitch because we don't want, if you don't work into that slip stitch, then you'll have this little bump sticking out on the back of the tree. So don't worry about that. I'm going to show you how to do that too. So from the inside to the outside, get our yarn through there. Okay. And now we're going to bring our tree together like that. And just to make this plastic not keep falling on my hand, we're just going to grab a little bit of fluff and stick it in there, okay? Stick it in the base. Not too much, just enough to keep that plastic from moving around and falling in my hand. Okay? Sorry, I was going off screen. Let me zoom out again here. Okay, so, because yeah, we don't want that plastic. That plastic will keep falling forward if you don't have something holding it. So we put just a little bit of fluff in there. Okay, not enough to stuff it yet, just enough to hold that plastic in place. Okay, so sometimes with my finger, I'll just go like this, and that just pushes those fluff fibers, the fiberfill fibers, pushes it inside, okay, because you don't want to catch all those fibers. So now, if you look here, you can see this little piece of green yarn here is going into that stitch that we just went into. So clearly you can see that we're going to be going into this stitch next, okay? And we're going to go from outside to inside on the base, and then we're going to go from the inside to the outside, and you'll be able to see because the yarn tail is coming out of the stitch we just went into. Okay, you can see where it's coming out of. So we're going to go into this next stitch from the inside to the outside, like that. Okay, and pull your yarn through. Okay, and then you're just going to make sure you hold the project. Hold both of them and then give it a little tug. Okay, bend this back a little bit so you can see. We can see here, hopefully you can see, this is where we went into last, so this is where we're going to go into next, the next stitch. I think I grabbed a yarn fiber on the inside. That's okay. And then from the inside to the outside on the body. And if the tree branches are getting in the way, just fold them up. Or put your thumb underneath the needle like that. That way you don't catch the branches. Now once this gets a little bit bigger here, you don't have, I tug like every other stitch. Okay. So I can see now that I've done two. That's when I'll put I'll put this finger inside on the other side of the project and this one on this side, and then I grab right where the stitching is and give it a tug. And you don't have to worry about this seam. You're not going to see it, okay? Because this little border folds up, and once all of this is, pulling and all this is done, you won't see this at all. So you don't have to worry. So we go into the next stitch and then into the next stitch. And like I said, put your thumb underneath the needle there so that you don't catch those tree branches, okay? And then once you've done 2 stitches, grab from the inside and the outside together and give it a tug. Oh, sorry if I went off screen there, okay? I hold it like this, give it a tug, okay? And you don't want to tug it too much, like too hard, okay? Because you don't want to make the stitches like buckle here or anything, okay? So from the outside to the inside on the base in the next stitch, and from the inside to the outside on the tree body. When you have a really long tail of yarn, sometimes it gets tangled like that. Trying my best to stay in the middle of the screen for you guys. It's hard to look here and look up there at the camera at the same time. I'm slowly getting better at it, I think. I hope. All right. Onto the next stitch here. And yeah, like if you noticed, I'm just taking the border and just kind of pulling it down so that I can see those stitches better. Okay. Get that fluff back in there. Just use your finger to just push it in. Okay. Grab this next one and go from the inside to the outside of the tree. Once you've done 2, grab it and pull. And don't pull too tight. Just enough that it's being comfortably closed, kind of thing. Okay? All right, into the next one, and into the next one. I'm sorry that I keep pulling it a little closer to me, but I'm so used to actually when I'm doing my sewing, I'm normally, like when I'm doing this, I'm normally holding this almost on my lap. So I keep wanting to pull it close, but I'm having to keep it, you know, at a steady length away from me on the table. So it's a little different for me here. Okay, so we'll grab that next one. And grab the next one. There we go. Then grab the stitches, like grab the seam line and give it a little yank. Stuff those fiber fill fluffies. That's what I was trying to say, but try to say that 5 times fast. Fiber fill fluffies. Okay. Oh, let's see what we got. And sometimes with the yarn will start twisting. If the yarn starts twisting up, like twisting up on itself, you can just take your project and hold it in the air and let your yarn and your needle just dangle, okay, until it untwists on its own. And all that twistiness will be gone. Usually it starts twisting about halfway through sewing the tree. Oops. Okay. With the bigger tree, I left a very long tail, so that's why it keeps on getting a little knotty there. Okay. We could go to the next stitch. Just want to make sure I'm going into, okay, that's where we went into, and this is where we're going into next. Sometimes it can almost play tricks on your eyes there. So you got to really pay attention to where that yarn is going, or where it's going into and where it's coming out of. Got a little red fluffies there. There we go. And try your best not to catch, like I always take my fingers while I'm going and go like this and make sure those little fibers are staying down, because if you catch too many of those fibers, you'll have fluffies all over, okay? And then sometimes if you try to pick it off, if it's a fluffy that's like embedded inside, sometimes you'll pull out more than you want. Oops, sorry about that. And you don't want that. So be very careful when you're putting your hook in. And like I said, use your finger just to push those fiber fluffies inside so that you're not grabbing them and pulling them out. Okay. Done 2 stitches, grab and yank. Get those fluffies in there. And got one little fluffy stuck on my yarn. Okay, into this one. Oh. Into this one. I hope I'm in focus. Sometimes this phone, it's like a brand new phone, but sometimes it focuses perfectly, and then other times it's doing its own thing, and I don't even know what it's focusing on. It's not focusing on anything. All right. Grab and tug. And we're just about to the halfway mark here. Sorry, I wish I had a smaller tree to do the tutorial with, because I would have just did a smaller tree, but it's Christmas Eve, and I got actually, after I'm done this, I got a couple more presents I have to wrap, last minute presents, and I'm not going to have any more time to do any more trees this year. I've already done, I think, like 5 or 6 sets. And actually, and I also did another tree that has an angel topper and a beaded garland. Oh, I was going to actually say, like, the beaded garland for my one tree, if you guys want to know how I crochet the beads into my little garland, that would be a pretty easy tutorial that I could do. Pretty easy and quick. If not, that's fine. I mean, it's pretty basic. Some people crochet beads into their work differently though, so my way is probably the basic way. And like I said, it's just to make a little garland with a couple beads here and there, just to make it so you could go around your tree with it. And then your tree looks like it has like little ornaments on it. There's other ways you can decorate your tree too. As I said in the previous video, I did a tree with, I took fishing wire and little mini beads, and I made, oops, yanking on the wrong yarn there. I took fishing wire and mini beads, and I had made a little garland for a little mini tree. And that one turned out really cute. And catching a couple fibers there. That's got to get in there. And what else? I got these little fairy twinkling lights. And I actually found ones I had gotten at the dollar store, the lights were quite far apart. And so I found that those ones didn't work as well for these mini trees as the ones that have the lights a little closer together. Only because the trees are not that big. So when you wrap the fairy lights around, you want the lights like fairly close to each other, like an inch close to each other. Some of those fairy lights they sit like, 3 inches apart. And then when you put it around the tree, there's just not enough lights. So, I mean, it still looks okay. I mean, I still kept the one on the other tree because I didn't have any more that had the lights that were closer together. I wish I had bought more of those, because they were like, after using them, I was just like, oh, these are awesome. And there's really no way of telling in the store unless they have some on display, right? So, sorry, I'm getting a couple fluffies stuck in here, and I want to make sure that I don't catch any more fluff. All right, so we're just about at the 3/4 way mark, maybe. So it's fairly easy, as long as you just keep doing the same motion So from the outside to the inside in the back loop only of the base, and from the inside to the outside on the tree body, and you're just constantly being consistent with that same sewing motion. And then every 2 stitches, like every other stitch, just give it a little tiny yank. Like I said, don't pull it too tight. You don't want to distort it, but you do want to tighten up the stitches a little bit because you don't want it to come apart. Or you don't want to have like, one part where it's baggy or anything. Okay. So you just hold it here, put one finger in here, one finger on the outside, grab it here and just give it a little tug. Okay. All right. And we're almost to the point where I'm going to grab some more stuffing. And I'm going to throw some more stuffing in the base here. And my yarn is getting a little twisty now. I'm probably going to have to take my project and hang it in the air for a second. That's exactly what I'm going to do. So it'll untwist my yarn a little bit. There we go. So you just hold it up in the air and there we go. All the twist is gone. Okay. I got a couple fibers here and there. So I got probably about, I'll probably go another stitch or 2 before doing the stuffing. Let's see. You want to leave at least like a little bit more than 1 inch of space so that you can have enough space to get your fingers in there, but not too much space where, you're not going to be able to get enough fluff in there properly, or the fluff is going to be getting in your way, because you don't want the fluff getting all stuck in your stitches, right? So I think that's good. Okay, so I got just a little over 1 inch here. Okay, so now I'm going to grab some more fluff. I always call it fluff. Fiber fill. I'm going to grab some more fluffies. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take that stuff that I had put in the bottom there, I'm going to shove it all to the back side. Okay, and then I'm going to start putting some more in there on both sides. So we're shoving it to this side and we're shoving it to this side. Okay, shove it in the middle. Right, and now, because I've been moving my finger around in there a lot too, you're going to want to put some under this part too. Just like I said, you don't want to overstuff. So, but you also don't want it understuffed, because if it's understuffed, then you get, parts where it can sink in like that, right? And you don't want sunken thing. You want it to stand nice, right? So I'm going to grab some and put it up the side of the tree here, where it's feeling a little hollow. Put some more in the base. This is quite a big tree, this one, so it takes quite a bit of fluff. A little tree takes like half of this. All right, so what you want to do when you're stuffing this too, sometimes I'll just stand it up and go like this, and then you can give it a little feel. You can feel if there's any spots that may need a little more fluff. Okay, and you can also see if it's standing decently straight, because if you overstuff, what you don't want to do is push this out, and you don't want this pushing out because then it won't sit nice, right? So in order to get it to sit nice, you have to have kind of like just the right amount of fluff. Okay. There she goes. There she sits. And she's sitting pretty nice. And now we're going to go back to where that hole is. Right? And I'm just going to grab a little extra fluff to put at this part where we're always sticking our finger again too. Okay. And a little more in that spot again too, because she's feeling a little hollow there. And that's probably because my fingers are constantly pushing it down. So you want to make sure that those little parts where we're pushing them down all the time is stuffed good. All right. And then once you're done too, you can also take your dull needle and you can go through like a hole of the stitch and you can move your fluff around a little bit. So if it gets a little indented here, you can move that fluff that I just stuffed in there, move it back here, okay? So now that she's fully good and stuffed, she's standing pretty good. She's not overstuffed, okay? You just want to make sure that that stays flat, okay? You want that straight. All right, now back to the sewing. Okay. Sometimes I will also have my hook handy or even a pen or something like that because I'm going to use this at the very end just to make sure that I can push that fluff in there. Okay, I'm going to leave that off screen for now because I don't want it to focus. I don't want my phone to focus on that thing. I want it to focus on this. So now that we're getting down to the end here. Okay. I'm going to get to, just when you're doing this, make sure that when you go in, try not to grab that fluff, okay? You pull it up and try not to grab the fluff at all, because if you grab the fluff, you're going to start pulling fluff out. And it's hard to fix it sometimes if you've pulled a ton through your stitches. You don't want that. So try to stay as close to the tree and the base as possible. Okay. And you can still yank. You can still yank those stitches a little tighter. Just now you have to just be very careful with how you hold it. Sometimes I'll hold it here and give it a little yank. You just don't want to distort your stitches though. Okay. So now, looks like we've got 3 stitches left here. One here. Okay. For that last stitch, you're going to really have to pull back that border so you can see it, because it is there. It's also been kind of pulled when you pulled that other one. So if you yank it back there, I'll pull it back, and you can grab that stitch. There we go. And then there's the last stitch. Okay. And I'm just gonna hold right here and give it a little yank. Okay. And now, so when you're looking here, you'll see that we're coming out of our last stitch here, and then we have this slip stitch. So we got 2 stitch. It looks like there's still a stitch here that we need to work into, right? So what I do to get rid of that is, this is the stitch that we first went into. I'm going to grab that one, okay? And then I'm also going to go, and then I'm going to go under that slip stitch, okay? So now, when you pull that through, that stitch that we last stitched into, that was actually a stitch, not just the slip stitch, you'll be able to see that it's tucked down and in now, okay? So now we just have our yarn coming out of that slip stitch, and the slip stitch is still right here. Okay, so now what I do, I'll leave that up still. Now what I do is I kind of, this yarn tail is a little long for this section. I'm just going to cut a little bit off here so I can show you what I do. I do like this, kind of like this circle. Usually I whip it around like this, but okay, so it's like a circle, like that, okay? And then I go like this, and I grab that slip stitch again, going the same way that we just went into it. You don't want to go this way because then you'll just take it out. So you're going to go back the same way that you went in it, okay? And when your yarn needle comes out, you want to make sure that it's going above that circle, okay? And it'll make one little tiny knot, okay? One little tiny knot. And then you can you can pull on that little knot. Don't pull it too tight because you don't want it to distort your other stitches, like these ones over here. So if you pull it too tight, then you're going to have some of those get too tight. So just tight enough that it closes, okay? And now what I do is I'm going to get my sharp needle, this one, and this sharp needle, it goes right through the fibers and everything. It's so sharp. But now, so what I do is, because you want to hide this knot, obviously. You got a little fluffy there, a little fiber fluffy. It's stuck in the knot. There we go. Okay, so now you're gonna find the hole that sits, like find the stitch hole that sits closest to that knot, where where the knot's gonna be just like, you don't want to do it up here because then it might not pull through the stitch. So I'm going to go down here and put it basically in this hole right underneath it, like right underneath the knot. As if I can get in that hole. There we go. Then, because the knot's already, like this little piece of yarn and the knot, it's already naturally wanting to go this way. So I'm going to find a hole that's on that side so that it will go through the hole easier. So now we're just going to take our sharp needle and come out where there's a hole. Try not to get stuck in fibers. You want to try to get into a hole. Okay. And pull your sharp needle through. And as soon as you feel it stopped, okay, just stop. Because you don't want to pull it too tight. So now what I do to pull that knot through, okay, you're going to hold your tree here, hold the branches, and give it a tug, okay? And if it still doesn't go through, sometimes you can take your needle and just give it a little push, okay? But there, it's gone. It's gone. It's in the hole. And then if it's pulled this in a little bit, just take your yarn needle and just gently pull it out, okay? You just pull on the fabric, okay? And it will fix it. And now I'm gonna also take this and I'm gonna go through one more time. I've got a little bit of fiber fill. So I'm gonna go through that same hole I came out of. And I'm just gonna go in here and come out another hole. Right. And this needle is so sharp, it won't pull the fibers unless you pull it really, really hard, okay? So now you can take your needle out. See how this part kind of dented in a little bit? Okay, you don't even need, you can use your dull one. Take your dull one, go into your stitches, and just make it more comfortable, okay? You don't want to pull it too tight. Pull that section out, okay? That way it doesn't look like it's puckered anymore. Okay, and now we're going to cut this. All right. And what I like to do to get rid of this, and also a little bit of fibers, if you look, there's some fibers there. Okay, you don't want to pull these fibers because they'll be caught around the yarn, because that sharp needle goes right through the fibers. It doesn't like pull them around or anything, but sometimes it will get stuck and it will pull some out of the hole. So if you pull on that, more fiber fill is going to come out, and you don't want that. So take your dull needle, go into the hole like right beside it, and just do like a twirl around, and see, oh, look at that. The fiber went back inside, and so did the yarn, and you don't even see where it came out. Okay, and that's it. The tree is done. Now that you've finished sewing, you can take this little border and just give it a little push up, because we were tugging on it so much. So now it's kind of facing down. So you just push it up. Okay. And there she is. She's standing good and straight. She's looking good. She's got her nice little straight border. She's got a flat bottom. And she's done. So now I've got my two little Christmas tree set, ready to be gifted to somebody. Not going to say who, but yeah, to somebody. And that's it. So that's it for this tutorial. If you guys like this tutorial, please give the video a like, and which would help me even more if you would subscribe. It helps get my content out there, and it also helps motivate me to make more videos for you. So if you'd like this, give me a like, give me a subscribe, and if you're interested, because I'm probably not going to make videos for every pattern I've made, and if you're interested in knowing or seeing any of my other patterns, you can find me on a Facebook group called Crochet for Love. You'll find the link for Crochet for Love in the description below. And I'd love to see you there. I'd love to meet you there. It's still a small group, but it is growing. It's a lot bigger than my YouTube channel so far. But then again, I did just start this YouTube channel. So I basically actually just started this just to get this pattern out, because I had promised everybody in the Facebook group that I was going to get the PDF done before Christmas. And there's still some things that I have to correct in the PDF, which is no problem. I will get it done. But for now, at least you guys can make your trees here with me on YouTube. And hopefully you'll have enough time. Definitely you would have enough time if you made the small tree. You would have enough time to make one of these before Christmas. If you're a fast crocheter, you could definitely make one of these too. So depending on how fast you are. I know I was really cutting it short bringing out this pattern for Christmas Eve, but at least I got it out to you guys. And I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys enjoyed the pattern. I hope to see you in my Facebook group, and I hope to bring you more videos again soon. Okay? So you guys have a good night, and Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and God bless.